Hey guitar players! Today I'm going to talk a little bit about who I think is my favourite guitar player of all time, Wes Montgomery, and specifically one little device that he uses quite frequently that when I first discovered this for myself for the first time, it kind of blew my mind and opened up lots of possibilities and allowed me to play much more freely over things like a 2-5-1 and complicated chord progressions. I'm going to show you a couple of different examples, and then we're going to try and extrapolate some useful information that we can learn from this and apply it to your own improvisation. So recently, a student of mine was asking me to help them transcribe a Wes Montgomery solo over the tune Yesterdays, and I've actually linked the video below that it's from because it's awesome and you should definitely go and check it out. But the tune is in D minor, and he starts with some really cool bluesy stuff, and then he goes, and he does this, really nice bluesy stuff, and then he throws in this thing, which I thought was so cool that it's worth kind of diving in and trying to understand what's going on. This bit specifically. Okay, if I play that slowly, so you start on the 11th on the D string, 12th, and then do this diagonal line like that up to the 12 and resolve to the 10. This diagonal line is a D major 7 arpeggio. Now at that moment in time, the chord progression is doing this. It's going B minor 7, E7, and then it goes to A7. Okay, so it's not quite a 2-5-1 in its truest sense. So it's not going to an A major 7, but it's close enough for us to assume that at this moment in time we're travelling into the key of A. So why then is he playing a D major 7 arpeggio over a B minor 7? Well, we can think about it a couple of ways, but if you know your keys and you know about relative minors and this type of thing, then you'll know that the relative minor of D is B minor. Okay, so if you've ever played any songs in the key of D and you've used B minor pentatonic to improvise, it's the same thing as that. So if we look at this arpeggio and we try and relate these notes and understand the scale degrees of these notes to B, this note, this D, is your minor 3rd, you've got your 5th, this is your flat 7, and then this note on the top here is your 9 in relation to B. So you've got your 9, and then here you've got your 11. So you've actually got a lot of colour in that shape there. So you're hitting all of the interesting notes, basically. Now the first thing I would probably do is I'd maybe set up a little loop or something on B minor 7 and improvise with that shape. And I'd find it in different places as well. And get used to hearing those upper extensions over the context of that minor 7th chord there. Now another way we can think of this is we can relate it to the parent key. Now at this moment in time, we're making the assumption that we're moving into the key of A, right? Now D happens to be chord 4 in the key of A. Okay, so rather than filling all of our brain processing power up with what am I going to play over my 2, okay, maybe it should be B Dorian, is it? No? And then, oh, what am I doing over my 5 then? Well I know I can do some altered stuff, so, oh yikes, melodic minor, diminished, like, do you see there's a lot going on, there's a lot of things to think about. Quite often we're trying to find ways of simplifying this so that we can actually process it in the moment, particularly if we're changing keys a lot, or if the tune is quite fast. You know, we need simple explanations for this stuff, simple ways of understanding it. So this is one of those. You can just condense all of that down to going 4, 1. Now if you do want to bring in a bit of extra tension on that 5 chord, why not try this? Go D major 7, so 4, and then flatten the 3rd of that, so you get D minor with a major 7 still, resolve it to 1. D major, D minor, A major. Another option, which is quite fun, is take D major over this, and then take it up a minor 3rd, and then resolve it to A. So what I was doing there was D major 7, and then over the E7 play F major 7, and then resolve to A. Now I'll show you a couple more examples of this. On the tune Air Again on the album The Incredible Jazz Guitar of Wes Montgomery, he plays this line, and he does a couple of variations of that at the same point in the form each time it comes round. So at that moment it's going B minor 7, E flat 7, so he starts here on the 10th fret and does that major 7th shape again, which is actually this time it's a D flat major 7, and then he resolves to that note there, which is an E, which is your flat 9 on that E flat 7 chord there. One more example, this time in a bluesy context, on the same album, on the tune D Natural Blues, he does this. So he goes... Okay, so over that D7 chord, he's perhaps thinking of the related 2 chord that would belong to that, which is A minor, and taking that same arpeggio, so we could think of that as C major, or we could think of it as A minor 9, you know, like we discussed earlier. But it's the same shape, you see. Now there's another way that he sometimes frets this. I've heard him do this before, where instead of playing that B there, he sends that up here to the 12th fret on the B string, like that. That allows him to slide into that to generate a little bit of extra bluesiness, which is quite fun. As I said before, try and find as many different places you can play these things. You know, any way you can play that major 7th arpeggio in any finger shape or whatever, the better, because then you'll be able to just recycle this in and come up with your own lines and that type of thing. If we look at that example in relation to the parent key, so we're playing D7, right? Which is the 5 of the key of G, and we said this was a C major 7 arpeggio, which again is the 4 in relation to the key of G. So again, we can simplify our thinking. You know, if we can relate these things back to the parent key, what key does this belong to? We can just say, where's chord 4 and where's chord 1? I do have a few written resources for this stuff over on my Patreon page. I've written out a few example lines and that type of thing. But hopefully this is kind of understandable, you know. Take that 4 chord, maybe make it minor, and resolve it to 1. You've got a nice efficient way of playing this over different 2-5-1s. Try it in different keys, apply it to tunes and all that type of thing. Now obviously there's tons more stuff to talk about with relation to Wes Montgomery's playing, and we will do at some point in the future, but I hope this stuff gives you a way of just making that transition from blues and rock and roll into playing over 2-5-1s and complex chord progressions. I hope it helps you manage that a little bit easier, and thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you again soon.